The war ends, and the sea fills with hungry men. 1713. You wake in a hammock that smells like salt and old sweat. The night is hot. The sea outside is flat and dark, and the wood of the dock house creaks like an old man breathing. It is the year 1713. The War of the Spanish Succession has ended. Peace sounds good in a song, but for sailors like you, peace is a cruel joke. The British Royal Navy has thrown tens of thousands of men out at once. No pay, no plan, no future. You are one of them. You were a privateer during the war. That meant a paper from the Crown saying you could chase enemy ships and take their cargo. It looked like law. It felt like war. You and your mates hunted prize after prize, sometimes with cheers, sometimes with blood. You learned to brace in a boarding rush, to swing a cutlass without thinking, to aim low with a pistol because the deck always bucks at the wrong time. You learned how to live on hardtack full of weevils and water that smells like dead rope. Most of all, you learned this. A fast hull, a brave heart, and a lucky wind can change any man's life in a single hour. Peace takes that away. Now the letters of marque are useless. Captains fold them up and stuff them under bottles. Merchants still sail, but they want fewer sailors and pay less coin. Navy officers who used to shout at you from a quarterdeck now look through you like you are thin fog. You stand on shore, with hands like rope, and nobody wants them. That is why men begin to drift. They drift to the broken places where a man can start again. You hear of one place more than any other, Nassau, on New Providence Island, in the Bahamas. Long ago, the British built a town there. Then a raid burned it, and the Crown forgot it. Now it is a skeleton of streets, a handful of huts, and a bay, with good holding ground. No governor, no magistrate, no gallows. Only reef, palm trees, and rumor. You follow the rumor. The sail to New Providence is harsh. Your small sloop smells of bilge and rum. The captain is a thin man with bad teeth and bright eyes. He says, "Work now, share later." It is the oldest. Promise on the water. You pump when the sea leaks in. You reef when the wind grows sharp. You sleep against a coil of line and dream of meat that is not salted and bread that is not stone. When you drop anchor in Nassau Harbor, the sun is white and the water is that strange blue that looks like glass over a knife. The town is half ruin, half market. Drunk men laugh under tarps. A woman with a scar sells limes from a cracked bowl. A boy in a hat too big for him carries powder kegs like they are babies. 2 ships lie on careen, rolled on their sides and propped with timbers while men scrape barnacles with iron. You see flags, too. Not royal flags. Black flags with bones, hearts, hourglasses, each different, each a promise. In this bay, crews follow articles, not kings. They vote for captains. They vote for when to fight and when to sail. They share prize money by shares, not rank. The captain takes a few, the quartermaster less, the gunners and sailmakers 1 each, and the boy half. If a man is hurt, the articles say what he is owed. So much for a leg, so much for an eye, so much for a right hand. It is rough and rude. It is also more honest than most courts. On the beach, you meet names you have only heard as curses in taverns. Benjamin Hornigold, tall, serious, a man who still talks like the Navy is listening. Edward Teach, big shoulders, black beard, already wild but not yet a legend. Charles Vane, hard eyes and a quicker temper. Men move around them like fish around sharks, but the sharks talk kindly, pass mugs, make jokes. They are building something. Here. And they want men like you. Men who can reef in a squall, sight a bearing in fog, and keep their feet when a cannon kicks. That night, under a roof of palm leaf and old sailcloth, you sign your first pirate articles. You read each line, slow, because the man holding the paper says, "No man signs blind." The rules are plain. Every man has a vote on big matters. No fighting on board. Settle with words or wait for shore. No stealing from your mates. Prize is shared fair. Lights out at 8 bells unless the quartermaster says different. If you cheat at dice, you swim. You make your mark. They hand you a small advance, a pistol, a cutlass, and a place in a hammock strung low between beams. The rope bites your back. It feels like belonging. By dawn, a boat drum beats. The captain climbs to the rail. It is Hornigold. He smiles a tired smile. "Men," he says, "we will not starve today." He speaks of a Spanish coastal schooner seen east of Eleuthera, heavy with cocoa and coin, light with guns. The plan is clear. Close fast, fire a warning shot, show the black flag, offer quarter. If they fight, take their deck with grapnels and grape shot. No burning if we can help it. Goods pay better when whole. At sea again, you feel alive like you have not felt since the war. The wind fills the canvas. The ship leans and hums. The boatswain's call sings thin and sharp. Men grin through salt spray. The lookout points, sail to east. By noon, you can read her lines through the spyglass. She is fat with cargo and hope. Her hope is wrong. Your gun captain, a scarred man called Scudder, puts your hands on a swivel gun. "Aim where men stand thick," he says, "and when you load, think of your own deck. Clear theirs so we keep ours. Your mouth is dry. Your heart is fast. You are not wicked. But hunger is a hard teacher, and the Articles promised you a share. The first shot you fire is a tremble and a blast. Smoke blows back in your face. You taste salt, iron, and a little fear." The Spanish captain sees the black flag and the splinters on his rail. He lowers his colors. There is a cheer, loud as surf. The boarding is bloodless. Your captain speaks in plain Spanish and plain smiles. He promises no harm if there is no trouble. He is not a devil. He is a businessman with a fast ship and a firm voice. You take cocoa, rope, tools, barrels of molasses, and a small chest of silver. You leave them water, food, sails, and pride enough to go home. Later, in this same harbor, they will tell that the Republic of Pirates is cruel. They will be wrong in part. It is cruel only when cornered. It prefers fear to murder because fear sails faster. Back on the beach, you see another side of Nassau. Not just rum and cards, but work. Men careen hulls, stitch sails, patch spars, cast shot. A blacksmith with arms like iron bangs out a new hinge while a child pumps the bellows. A freed African cook ladles stew, salt pork, beans, onion, a miracle in a wooden bowl. A man with one leg carves bone dice and sells them for a penny. It is a town of makers and takers, and the line between them is thin as a knife edge. In the second week, a storm blows up from the southeast. The harbor goes angry. Anchors drag. 2 masts snap. Your crew rows like devils to set a second hook and run out a kedge anchor. In the hard rain, Edward Teach stands on a pier like a statue. His beard is soaked and heavy. He shouts orders that cut through wind like knives. Men obey because the words are right, and the man is calm. Later that night, in a leaking hut, he laughs soft and says, "Fear is a tool. But first you must earn your own crew's faith. You store that truth like dry powder. Word spreads fast on water. In 1715, a Spanish treasure fleet wrecks on the Florida reefs in a hurricane. The sea throws silver on the sand like shells. Spain sends salvage camps. Pirates smell opportunity. Hornigold wants to hit strong and fast. Others argue for small. Raids and smaller risks. There is a vote on the beach by torchlight. You hold your breath as hands rise in the smoky dark. Unanimous. The next day, Nassau is a factory. Powder, shot, biscuit, water, coils of line, spare spars. Everything moves from sand to ship. 5 hulls, near 300 men, one plan. You feel the old Navy inside you, order, lists, pace. But it is different now, because this order is chosen, not forced. Men work because the share is theirs. You see Teach talk with a quiet man in a fine coat, Stade Bonnet. Some call him the gentleman pirate. No one knows why he left his plantation. Everyone knows he is learning fast. When your small fleet sails at dusk, Nassau watches from the beach. The ruined fort looks like a broken tooth. Palms shift and whisper. You think this is not just a hideout. This is a city of the unruled, a rough democracy with knives. It feels fragile and new. It also feels like the true end of the war. Not the peace papers in London, but hungry sailors rewriting their own lives with rope and courage. Out past the reef, the sea turns dark green and deep. Someone starts a low song, a shanty you heard. On a man of war, but the words are different now. Less about duty, more about luck. You sing too, because your throat wants to, and because you will need luck where you are going. The coast of Florida waits. The Spanish have muskets. You have speed, surprise, and a captain who believes in votes as much as in powder. You wrap your coat tight and sleep under the rail. The deck is hard. The sky is black with quiet stars. You feel a thing you have not felt since you were a boy. Hope. Not the soft kind. The hard kind you can hold in your hand like a belaying pin. Tomorrow, you will test it. Nassau's bold gamble and the birth of a legend, 1715, 1716. Dawn pulls a gray line up from the sea. The Florida coast is a thin smudge. Your ship's wake glows faint in the early light, and flying fish flick like silver knives. Men move quiet. They check muskets, they count cartridges. They tie red cloths around arms so they can tell friend from foe when smoke makes the world small. The plan is simple because simple plans live. Hornigold will show the black flags and keep the Spanish camp busy with broadsides that aim high, not to smash chests of coin, but to scare men off the guns. The longboats will carry the boarding parties through the surf, teach volunteers for the first wave. No one argues. You will stay aboard as swivel gun cover. Load grape shot, watch for a push from the camp, tear holes in a line before it becomes a threat. When the guardhouse falls into your glass, you see men in white shirts running like ants. A red-yellow flag climbs a pole. Hornigold dips his head once and says, "Now!" The first broadside thunders. Palm fronds leap. Sand leaps. Men do not. They crouch and pray. The longboats splash forward. You spin your swivel to the left where 6 Spaniards. Rush a light field gun? Scudder taps your wrist. "Wait," he says. "Let them bunch." They bunch. You pull the lanyard. The gun kicks and coughs smoke. When it clears, there are 3 men left, and they are not running toward the gun anymore. On the beach, Teach jumps waist deep, pistol high, beard black and wild. He does not shoot yet. He shouts. It is a thing that cuts. It sounds like anger, but it is a map. Men follow a map. They halt, push, swing, reload, drag, and in the middle of it all, the guardhouse. Door swings wide. Someone inside throws out a small cask on fire. It breaks. The wall climbs into orange. Smoke goes up, and your own deck smells like hot pitch and salt. It should be a long fight. It is not. In less than an hour, the Spanish flag falls, and a heart on a black field goes up in its place. There is cheering then, but it is not wild. It is tired and surprised, the sound men make when fear releases like a knot. You fire one more time, high, to make a point at a line of sailors that thinks about brave ideas. They decide family is better than glory and go inland instead. When the first chests come out, you hear a change in the voices around you. It is not greed. It is relief. Months of hunger, years of disrespect, and now the sea gives back. Silver coins, pieces of 8, pour like hard rain into canvas sacks. A man you do not know weeps quietly into his sleeve. Another counts and laughs. Teach leans on a post and rolls his shoulders like he just put down a heavy plank. You get your share that night, not the whole thing yet. Quartermasters keep careful books, but enough for the taste. You hold the coins in your palm. They are cold. They feel like choices. Back in Nassau, the victory changes the town in a day. New crews arrive from everywhere: English, Irish, Scots, Africans who made their own freedom, Dutch, French who do not mind English jokes, even two men who say they were once monks. Most think they are lying, nobody cares. Tents become huts. Huts become shacks with signboards. A roll of parchment tacked to a post says "Market" in 4 languages and draws a crowd. A cooper sets up shop. A sailmaker tacks a bit of canvas to a wall as a sign. Someone paints a gallows on a plank and nails a crown above it and sets the plank upside down in the sand. It is a joke, but also a promise. With more men come more articles. You sign a second set because you are joining a new crew with a faster ship. These articles list punishments and payments clear as noon sun. There is a line that says, "He that hides powder pays 2 shares to the chest." There is another that says, "Musician rests on the Sabbath by right." It makes men laugh. It also makes them less likely to kill each other when cards go. Bad Edward Teach grows into Blackbeard little by little, like day grows into noon. At first, it is a longer beard and a tighter bandolier of pistols. Then it is slow matches tucked into his hat and beard, thin cords that burn and smoke with outs. Flame. "The trick is not to look like the devil to your friends," he says. "The trick is to look like the devil to the other deck. Fear saves powder. Fear saves legs." You ride with him on a small hunt north of Abaco. At dawn, a Dutch flute tries to run. She runs like a tired cow. Blackbeard lights his matches. Smoke curls around his face. He puts 2 burning fuses between his teeth and grins. The Dutch crew sees a ghost in daylight, a man on the rail with smoke for a mouth and pistols for ribs. Their colors come down so fast the line tangles itself. Nobody dies. The hold is full of sugar and indigo, and a little box of pretty stones some merchant thought would make his wife love him. Later, the crew of the flute tells everyone they meet, "There is a nightmare sailing these waters. They do the work of 3 broadsides with 1 frightened story. Not every captain wants the same path. Hornigold still says, 'No English flags.' He will hit Spanish. He will hit French. He will chase Dutch. He will not touch the cross of St. George. Some cheer that, some do not. The vote breaks crews into 2 bodies, and men sort themselves the honest way, with feet. You follow Blackbeard because he reads winds like a book, and because he laughs with his eyes when the rum is good, and because the smoke trick works. The Navy notices. Woodes Rogers, a hard man with a privateer's brain and a king's blessing, sails for New Providence with a plan and a pardon. "Come in and be forgiven," the paper says, "or stand out and be hunted." It is not a bad offer for a man with empty pockets, but a man with a full share and a taste for open water hears another thing. Give up your vote. Give up your pride. Give up your speed. In the tavern, men argue until lantern smoke stings. On a night with a big moon, you sit on the beach, drinking water because your head hurt all day. Israel Hands, a thin young man with smart hands and a careful way of looking at things, sits down next to you. He says, "The captain wins half his fights before he sees sails." You say, "By being a monster?" He shakes his head. "By being a story." Soon the story needs a bigger stage. Blackbeard says so at a council on the sand. "We need a hull with teeth," he tells the crews. "A ship that looks like she can bite." He has heard of a French slaver, hard built, low in the water, many. Guns, name La Concorde, sailing a line the sea knows too well. He does not want the human cargo. He wants the wood, the deck, the bones of the ship. Men nod because they know a good tool when they hear one described. When La Concorde crosses your path weeks later, the sea is kind and the wind is fair. She is slow from a long voyage. Her crew is sick. Her captain is tired. Blackbeard closes, flags hard in the breeze. He fires 1 warning shot. The French colors fall. Boarding is quick and quiet except for the noise below, where chains rattle and voices cry in languages you do not know, and one you do, pain. Blackbeard gives the French a small sloop and water, sends them away, and orders the chains struck, and the hold cleaned and the deck scrubbed with vinegar. "We will carry no slaves," he says flat. "We are not that kind of thief." By night, the renaming happens. Men bring rum and laugh and pound the rail. Blackbeard holds the bottle and smashes it on the bow in a burst of spray. "Queen Anne's Revenge," he says. It is a name with teeth. It remembers the war that made you and the peace that forgot you. It spits in the direction of a new king who tells old sailors to work for less. The deck shivers under your feet, like it has heard its own future. With a bigger hull comes discipline. Blackbeard drills gun crews in a slow afternoon chop until they can load and fire in near Navy time. He marks lanes for boarding so men do not choke the rail in the rush. He sets the quartermaster to weigh shares and complaints, and that man, steady, humorless, becomes the spine of the ship. You learn to love his fairness even when it gives you nothing. You taste a new kind of power when the fleet grows to 4 ships and the Jolly Rogers fly together. Merchants stop outside your shadow and heave to. A town across the water locks its doors when your anchors splash. You understand that piracy is not just cutlasses and thunder. It is logistics and reputation and the quiet courage to walk a line the world says does not exist. Between criminal and commander, between chaos and code. On a white morning in 1716, as you watch the sun burn night off the bay, you realize a strange thing. The Republic of Pirates is the first place in your life where you knew the rules before you broke them. That is why it feels like home. Queen Anne's Revenge and the Blockade that shook a colony, 1717-1718. The day you first stand watch on Queen Anne's Revenge, you feel the deck's wide muscle under your boots. 40 guns stare from black mouths. The bowsprit points like a spear. The rigging hums. Men move around you with the easy flow of a crew that believes in itself. It is not Navy stiffness. It is not merchant slouch. It is something in between. Chosen order. Blackbeard walks the quarterdeck. The slow matches in his beard thread smoke like ink in water. He does not light them every day, only when he wants the air itself to carry news. The devil sails with us. Today he lights 2. "We hunt," he says. "We show our teeth. We do not waste men." The first weeks with the new flagship teach you 3 truths. First, a big ship changes every meeting. When you bear down on a coaster with that much timber and iron, men see their children's faces in the shine on your gun barrels. They lower their colors before the wind decides which way to blow. Second, the quartermaster is king of peace. The captain is king of war. When powder is dry and sails are full, the captain's word is law. When the deck is quiet, the quartermaster weighs shares, hears grievances, and decides who is wrong without fear or favor. A man once tried to swing a fist at him. The man found himself rowing ashore with half a loaf of bread and no pistol. Nobody tried again. Third, the legend needs feeding. Leave survivors to talk. Burn only when you must. Do something strange now and then so stories ride ahead of your bow. Blackbeard is a natural at the last part. He once had slow matches burning from a cap sewn inside his hat, so smoke came from his head like a saint in a church painting, only darker. He laughs when you tell him it worked too well on a pair of Dutchmen who fainted on their own deck. Fear, he says, is cheaper than powder and safer than boarding. The crew is a world in rope and oak. A black gunner from the Gold Coast sings while he swabs. A French carpenter curses every plank until it fits, then kisses it. A Welsh fiddler plays jigs on calm evenings and a psalm on Sundays when the sea is kind. A cook with missing fingers turns the worst pork into something that tastes like hope if you close your eyes. None of them cares where the other was born. All of them care if he shows up when the brace needs hauling. In late 1717, the world around you changes. Woodes Rogers takes Nassau with pardons and soldiers. The laugh on the beach grows thin. Many pirates bend and take the king's mercy. Some mean it. Some plan to spit it out later. Hornigold accepts. You feel the town's heart slow. The Republic is not dead, but it coughs. Blackbeard does not cough. He moves. He sails north to North Carolina, where Governor Charles Eden smiles. Like a cat in sun, and signs papers that make dirty cargo look clean. For a price, of course. You become, on some days, not pirates but smugglers, and the work feels strange in your bones. Smuggling is patience. Piracy is heat. You can do both, but you sleep worse. Then comes the blockade plan. It arrives on a map and in a sentence. Charleston is rich and soft. Shut the harbor. Hold the town's breath. Ask for medicine. The word, medicine, makes men look at each other. Some laugh. Some scratch. It is not silver. It is not gold. It is something different. Proof. Proof that a pirate fleet can squeeze a colony's throat and make it swallow. In May 1718, you set the trap. Queen Anne's Revenge stands at the mouth of the harbor like a tavern bouncer who is also a wall. The smaller ships fan out. No sail in. No sail out. The first day is almost boring. Men in fine coats stand on Charleston's docks and squint like they can push you away with their eyes. The second day, a merchant tries to slip past before dawn. Your cutter catches him by breakfast. The hostages are a gift you did not plan. A councilman named Samuel Ragg is among them, and he carries himself like a man who can write his own weather. Blackbeard treats him with a sharp politeness that makes softer men sweat. He sends Ragg back with a message. Bring a chest of medicines in 48 hours, or the town will regret the lesson. You guard the hostages on the gun deck. They are not what you expected. One is brave and quiet. One cries at odd hours. One prays in Latin. One makes jokes that sound like they were funny in London. You do not hate them. You do not love them. You want them to go home alive, so the story you are writing with ropes and powder will be told with wide eyes and open hands. No answer comes on the first day. Blackbeard paces. He is not a patient man by nature. He is a patient man by decision. On the second day, at noon, a boat comes. With crates and a white cloth tied to a stick. You open a crate. You find mercury, sarsaparilla, Jesuit's bark, unguents, salves, syringes. A surgeon grunts like a man smelling bread. Blackbeard keeps his word. He releases the hostages, all but Ragg, who sits a while longer until the fleet is clear. You watch the faces of Charleston's citizens on the shore as the boats go back. Some hate you with their whole bodies. Some look oddly grateful that you kept your bargain, which is a strange thing to feel toward men under a black flag. Truth lives in strange rooms. The blockade ends without a broadside. No gun smoke lifts over the fort. No bodies fall on the quay. And yet the whole colony shakes like a deer that just sniffed a wolf. In taverns from Boston to Bridgetown, men say, "He took a city's will with 4 ships." In London, a clerk dips a pen and writes a tidy note. Increase patrols, raise bounties, close the noose. Your noose tightens itself when mischief meets bad water. Beaufort Inlet is a liar. It looks wide. It hides a bar. Queen Anne's Revenge kisses sand and will not let go. Men curse and haul and sweat. The tide says no. The hull lists. The captain's face goes still. He orders the best guns moved to the Adventure, a smaller ship. The rest waits for a storm to tear it to pieces. Men howl that night in Nassau and Charleston, but you do not. You have learned that ships die and legends change clothes. Blackbeard is already making a new suit. In North Carolina, he plays at being respectable, then not, then yes again. He smiles at Governor Eden and slips coins across tables. He takes prizes far from English flags and swears on paper he did not. The game grows thin. Lieutenant Maynard of the Royal Navy hears the whisper that this is the time to hunt. You do not see the last fight with your eyes. You hear it later from Israel hands and from a carpenter who says he saw smoke roll over the water like morning fog. Maynard hides men below decks, Blackbeard boards, surprise flips, pistols bark, cutlasses ring and bite. Men fall and kick, smoke burns eyes. When it clears, Teach stands for a second like a tree that has taken too many axes. He has many wounds. How many depends on who tells it. Enough. He drops. A head goes up on a bowsprit, like a lantern that never lights. You feel something leave your chest and not return. It is not love. You did not love him. It is not simple fear. You do not fear like before. It is the sense that the world has turned a corner and you are on the wrong side of it. The sea does not care. It rolls and hisses and pretends it never knew your names. You look around your deck at men you trust and decide a thing. If the age of big flags and big legends is ending, the age of small knives may begin. Smaller crews, quicker runs, fewer boasts. There is talk in Nassau of a captain with a patched coat and a sharp woman at his side. Calico Jack and Bonny. There is another talk of a quiet fighter called Mark, who is not the man the name says. The story changes again because stories do not drown. They grow new fins. You coil a line and breathe. The rope is rough and honest. It does not lie. Pull and it pulls. Pay out and it runs. Somewhere a governor signs a warrant. Somewhere a boy hears a tale and chooses the sea. Somewhere a black flag dries in the sun and waits for a wind it will never see again. The Golden Age is not dead. It is dying. Dying is loud at the start and quiet at the end. You can hear both now if you listen. Bonny and Mary Read. Two Blades Against the World, 1717 to 1720. You hear her before you see her. The voice cuts through smoke and laughter in a Nassau tavern called the Spyglass. Mind your hands, she says to a drunk who thinks every woman is furniture. The drunk does not listen. A knife appears. The drunk learns to listen. That is Bonny. Irish fire, quick hands, quicker temper. She is not a secret. Men talk about her like a storm that walks. You meet her again on the dock beside a small sloop with a patchwork coat of sails. The captain is John Rackham, called Calico Jack because he loves bright cloth. He smiles like a fox in a chicken yard. Anne stands at his shoulder like a second flag. She wears men's clothes for work, loose shirt, trousers, pistol at the belt. But no one mistakes her for a man. It is the way she stands. It is the way men step back without thinking. A week later, you see a new face on the same deck. A slight, young man with narrow shoulders and a careful way of moving. He keeps to himself. He fights like a soldier. He says his name is Mark. You find out the truth by accident. Mark is Mary Read, born into tight rooms and tight rules. Served in the army while dressed as a man. Then slid from uniform to privateering to piracy because honest work did not want her, and she did not want a cage. She keeps the disguise because the world is lazy. It sees what it expects. She uses that laziness like a weapon. You sail a short run with Rackham because your own captain needs repairs, and Rackham needs guns. The William is a small sloop, but fast. The crew is 30 men, one woman honest about it, one woman not, and a captain who trusts votes when he must and charm when he can. They take small prizes. Coastal traders with sugar, tobacco, and rum. The shares are not rich, but they are fair. On quiet nights, Mary cleans her musket with the steady care of a person who has lost too many to careless hands. Anne sharpens her cutlass and hums a tune from Ireland that sounds like salt and old grief. The first time you see them fight side by side, it is like watching a plan that learned to breathe. A Dutch sailor twice Anne's size swings at her. Mary shouts, "Down!" Anne drops. Mary's knife flies and hits the man's chest high and left, where his arm cannot reach fast enough. He falls with surprise still on his lips. Anne is up. again in one smooth line and takes another man's pistol away like she is handing him a cup and he forgot to hold it. Rackham watches with pride and a little fear, the same look men give a fine horse that might break the fence. The crew's articles are like all pirate codes, but with one extra line said out loud by Anne during the first meeting on deck. No, man touches a woman on this ship without her word. The price is blood. No one argues. Men are practical when knives are close. There is a story that Mary once fell for a sailor who did not know her truth. She told him. He did not run. They lived like husband and wife for a little while under a different captain. Life at sea does not give long gifts. He died in a fight that was not his fault. Mary folded the grief small and put it in a deep pocket. She kept the pocket closed. News runs over water like wind runs over grass. Woodes Rogers takes Nassau in 1718 with royal papers and a hard face. He offers pardons. Many pirates take them. Some keep them. Some do not. Rackham takes the pardon first, grows bored of clean hands, and throws it away. Peace is a hungry dog, he says to the crew. It eats your days. They sail again from hidden inlets, keeping clear of big guns. Hunting only when the wind is sure, a thing changes you cannot see. Bounties rise. The Royal Navy pays coin for pirate heads. Some men sell old friends. Some governors close old doors. On the Spanish Main and around Cuba, there is still room to breathe, but the breathing is not easy. One calm morning, a British sloop of war, under Captain Jonathan Barnett, finds the William at anchor near Jamaica. The wind is wrong for flight. The crew wakes slow from rum and bad dreams. Rackham looks at the sky, then at Anne, then at Mary. We will fire, then run, he says. The wind laughs. You can feel the fight dying before it is born. The first broadside from the Navy sloop tears your mainsail like paper. Men shout. Rackham hesitates. It is only a blink, but battle time is shorter than clock time. Marines pour over the rail. Most pirates throw down arms. A few do not. In the middle of the crush, Anne and Mary hold the quarterdeck ladder like two nails. Come on, you cowards! Anne screams at the Marines, at the crew, at Rackham himself. Fight like men! Mary fires, reloads, fires again. She moves like she has been here before because she has. The last stand is not long. Numbers win. Hands hit rope. In Spanish town, Jamaica, you stand in a hot court, chains on your wrists. The judge says words you already know. Piracy is death by hanging. The men will go first. Rackham asks for a drink of rum and gets it. He says, a short, life and a merry one, because bravado is cheaper than despair. The crowd laughs because crowds enjoy easy lines. Then Anne and Mary speak together. We plead our bellies. The court must pause because the law says a pregnant woman cannot hang before she gives birth. A jury of matrons examines them. The verdict. Both are with child. The noose waits. Time moves like mud. Mary grows sick in prison. Fever takes her. In 1721 before judgment can. The records argue with each other about the child. The truth sits quiet under stone. Anne lives longer. Some say her rich father pays and pulls strings. Some say she slips the bars like smoke and rides a ship south to Cuba. Some say she goes home to Carolina and wears a different name and keeps her knives in a chest under a bed she shares with a man who never asks certain questions. You do not know. No one you trust knows. That is part of her power. She walked out of a gallows story and into a fog and never came back out. Every tavern makes a new ending. None feel wrong. What you know is this. Anne Bonny and Mary Red were not ornaments. They were not stories made by men and pinned to walls. They were sailors and fighters and thieves under a code they chose. They did not wait for permission. They did not bow when voices said bow. On hot decks with powder smoke and splinters in the air, they kept their feet. When historians write big words like exception, remember they were also example. They show what a crew can be when skill counts more than birth, and how dangerous that simple idea looked to a world built on rules made by others. When you sleep now, sometimes you see a ladder of wet wood and two figures at the top of it. Small, against a navy sky, faces set like carved oak. You hear Anne's voice, "Fight, you dogs!" and Mary's shot crack like a breaking stick. The dream ends the same way every time, with rope and iron and a door that shuts. But before it shuts, the old world flinches. That moment is worth a story all by itself. Calico Jack, colorful coat, gray choices, and a gallows shadow. 1719, 1720, John Rackham is not the strongest pirate. He is not the bravest. He does not command a fortress ship or take cities. But he is a picture people remember. Bright calico coat, easy smile, neat pistols across his chest. He loves the show of piracy as much as the work. He is fun in taverns, and fair in division. He believes in small crews, quick runs, and luck. After throwing away the king's pardon, Rackham keeps to Cuban waters and the channels between Jamaica and Hispaniola. He knows every quay that can hide a sloop. He pays quiet money to quiet men for fresh water and word of fat merchants. He avoids big fights. He does not have enough guns for them. When a prize is too tough, he lets it pass. There is always another. Sail. This is not cowardice. It is math. On his deck, Anne is partner, not decoration. She argues targets and routes. She keeps men in line with a stare that makes jokes die. Mary, still Mark to most, trains the green hands to load fast and aim for rope, not hull, rigging first, always. The ship is a school of small excellence. Quick tacks, quiet nights, careful watches. They are not rich. They are not starving. It is a narrow road, but a real one. A narrow road bends easy when pressure comes. Governor Rogers wants proof the pardons are not a joke. He wants heads. The Royal Navy sends more sloops designed to chase, small pirates in shallow water. The Spanish Guarda Costas hunt, too. The sea grows crowded with uniforms and bribes. Sometimes uniforms take the bribes. Sometimes they do not. You never know which day is which. Rackham stays one step ahead until one bad anchor, one bad breeze, one bad bottle. Near Negril, the William sits at night with sails down. A storm had blown earlier. The crew drinks. The watch is light. Anne says, "Too easy," and Rackham says, "Let the men breathe." A dark line moves on the horizon. It is Barnett's sloop. He has more guns, more men, and the wind's hand on his back. Barnett hails, offers terms. Rackham tries to run a little canvas up and slide away. The wind refuses. Barnett fires. The first ball screams over your deck and takes a bit of mast with it. The second kisses the water and jumps like a fish through the bulwark. Men fall. Rackham blanches. He looks for a path that is not there. In that blink, just that, Anne and Mary move to the ladder again. "Come on," Anne shouts. "Better to die on your feet." Some men follow, more do not. The Marines clear the deck with practiced speed. The trial is quick because trials are games that use time as a whip. You stand in the dock. The judge reads names that are not exactly yours. Paper is a net. Once it wraps you, you cannot throw it off. A clerk writes to be executed in a neat hand like he is adding a column of sums. For many of your mates, that is the whole story. A line of ink leads to a length of rope. Rackham's end is a strange mix of pride and apology. He drinks, he smiles, he tries to meet everyone's eyes. He hears Anne's last words through the bars. "If you had fought like a man, you need not hang like a dog." People tell that line in every port after, each adding salt. But the line holds because it tastes like truth. Rackham was many things: clever, charming, quick at sea, slow at crisis. He made a stage for two legends, and then stepped off it himself. When they hang him, they tar the body and gibbet it at gallows point as a sign to ships entering port. The game is changing. Gibbets are tools like flags. They talk without mouths. They say, "Stay out," to men who do not like to be told. You think about calico, about bright patches sewn over thin cloth. Rackham patched a pirate life over a thin time. For a while it held. Then the seam burst. What remains after the seam gives way? Stories. A flag with two crossed swords that shows up years later in a book. A woman with a knife who would not bend. Another with a musket who would not blink. A captain who taught you that sometimes the loudest color is not the strongest cloth. The lesson you carry off that deck is this: speed and charm are tools. They are not shields. You can dodge a storm for a month, a year, sometimes more. But storms, remember. The smart captain makes his ship ready, not just his smile. You leave Jamaica in the back of a convict cart and come back years later walking on 2 free feet because a judge decided he liked the word pressed more than the word volunteer in your file. That is luck. That is also the truth of courts. The rope in your dreams does not know the difference. It swings the same either way. When boys later ask you for pirate names, you give them Rackham along with Teach and Vane and Roberts. You tell them he was not the biggest or the bloodiest. You tell them he was the most like people really are, brave on Tuesday, afraid on Wednesday, clever on Thursday, foolish on Friday. They nod like they understand. Maybe they do. Maybe that is why his flag shows up in pictures so often. It looks like adventure. It hides the cost in bright cloth, Woodes Rogers and the fall of Nassau, pardons, politics, and the pushback, 1718, 1720. The Republic of Pirates was a house built fast on shifting sand. It held for a few seasons because men needed it and because no one big enough tried to knock it down. In 1718, someone big enough came. His name was Woodes Rogers, ex-privateer, good navigator, better organizer, a man who believed in order the way a preacher believes in Sunday. He sailed into Nassau with warships, soldiers, and paper. The paper mattered as much as the guns. It was the king's pardon. Lay down your arms within a year, and you will be forgiven, it said. Forgiven is a clean word. It sounds like fresh water after too much rum. Many pirates read it and imagined farms and wives and sons who would not grow up dodging ropes. Many captains read it and saw a trap. Both feelings were true. Rogers did 3 smart things at once. First, he fortified the harbor, rebuilt broken walls, set real guns on real carriages, posted real men who were paid to watch, not drink. Second, he split the pirate crowd into 2 groups with different needs. Those who could accept pardons and work as privateers against Spain again, and those who would not. Third, he hired former pirates to hunt present pirates. Nothing cuts a rope faster than the knife that used to be tied to it. Benjamin Hornigold took the pardon early and became a pirate hunter. That burned like acid in many mouths. But Hornigold had always been careful. He would not attack English flags. Now he read the wind and saw the flag of money flying over loyalty to old friends. His small squadron chased Charles Vane, Thomas, Nichols, and others from the shallows. Vane slipped nets with fireships and smoke more than once, but the chase grew tighter each month. Rogers also cut deals with planters, merchants, and tavern keepers. He promised safety for trade if they helped. Watch the creeks and report hulks that slipped in at night. He paid informers, he paid carpenters, he paid soldiers, he paid with coin from London and customs taken at the dock. A town that had lived on stolen goods learned to live on fees. Men grumbled, paid, and found they liked sleeping without checking the door 5 times. You stood once on the half-rebuilt fort and looked down at the harbor where you had signed your first articles. It felt smaller. That was not the walls. That was the weight of rules. Even the wind seemed to move more politely under Rogers. You could not decide if it was better or worse. You only knew it was different, and that difference meant the old life was closing like a book. The pardon did not wear the same face for everyone. Some men took it and became sailors on merchantmen, then cursed every morning bell. Some took it and drifted to smuggling, telling themselves it was just a softer kind of piracy. Some took it and thrived as plantation overseers, which is its own kind of cruelty. A few ripped the paper in two and sailed hard for Cuba or the Spanish Main, where English laws could not reach so easily. The Royal Navy changed, too. It learned your tricks. It built more sloops, shallow draft, quick on a turn, able to follow pirates into the banks and bites where big frigates would stick. It drilled Marines to board fast and split the deck in 3 bites. Forecastle, waist, quarterdeck. It trained gunners to aim for masts first, not hulls, to stop legs before you could run. It sent Lieutenant Maynard and men like him with orders to bring back heads or stories, whichever came first. When Blackbeard died in Ocracoke in late 1718, Rogers raised a glass without smiling. He did not love blood. He loved results. When Vane was later captured and hanged in Jamaica, 1721, Rogers signed the papers with steady hand. When Stade Bonnet swung in Charleston, 1718, Rogers made a note in a ledger and filed it where it would not be lost. He ran Nassau like a ship, lists, watches, paydays, rations, punishments. The place breathed on schedule. The spirit of the town changed shape. Where taverns once roared every night, now they roared only on paydays. Where men once voted on targets in the open air, now they argued about prices on sugar and tariffs on molasses. Where boys once ran around with wooden swords shouting about Blackbeard, now they ran with ledgers to their fathers at the quay, shouting about manifests and due dates. Some called it progress, some called it boring. Both were right. You might expect all pirates to hate Rogers like the devil. Many did, some did not. Even outlaws tire of chaos. A place where you can fix a hull, buy a sail, fill a water cask, and not be shot for your last prize has its own charm. Rogers made that place. He did it with force and paper and money. If that breaks a few hearts, he would say the sea breaks more. By 1720, the Golden Age is no longer bright gold. It is old coin, rubbed thin by too many hands. Bartholomew Roberts still flies a fierce flag and takes rich prizes out on the Atlantic edges, but he is the last giant, not the first of a new line. Convoys grow common. Insurance becomes cheaper when ships sail together with guns and schedules. The French and Spanish fix pieces of their own trade the same way. Profit hides under bigger umbrellas. Lone wolves find fewer sheep. You remember Nassau in 1715, palms and canvas and laughter and danger. You look at Nassau in 1719, timbers and uniforms and receipts and a bell that rings at the fort every hour. The wind is still warm. The water is still blue. The people are still hungry for life. But the black flag is now a memory that lives. In songs and warnings and on a few walls where boys scratch skulls with charcoal and mothers wash them off with sighs. In the quiet after taps from the fort, you walk the beach alone. The reef speaks in its small white voice. You whisper the names: Hornigold, Teach, Vane, Bonnet, Rackham, Anne, Mary. The names feel like shells in your hand. Rough, smooth, broken, beautiful. You put them back on the sand, because that is where they belong. Rogers cannot stop the tide. He can only set the harbor right. The tide keeps the stories. Life on a pirate ship. Code, food, pay, pain, and small mercies. People think piracy is only battle. Smoke, shouting, ropes, and red water. Most days are work. Honest, hard, boring, important work. The ship is your whole world, and that world wants to break. Your job is to stop it. Morning starts at first light. The watch calls all hands if there is weather, a sail, or a torn line. If not, the off watch rolls out slow. Breakfast is hard tack. Stone bread with weevils, you tap them out or eat them for extra meat. And salt pork that smells like old rope. On lucky days there is fish or a lime to cut the taste of stale water. Some captains issue grog, rum mixed with water, to keep men happy and the water honest. After food comes maintenance. You holystone the deck. Sand it smooth with blocks so splinters do not jump into bare feet when fighting later. You tar the rigging where sun ate it. You splice lines, seize rope to rope, mouse hooks so they do not slip. The carpenter checks the pumps and the keelson bolts, taps planks, listens for hollow lies. The sailmaker patches canvas at his little bench under the break in the shade. The gunner counts powder and shot and swabs the throats of the guns with vinegar and care. The articles are the ship's law. They are read aloud when a crew forms and again when trouble grows. They say who gets what. The captain 2 shares, sometimes more on big ships. The quartermaster 1 1/2, the gunner, boatswain, carpenter 1 1/4, common sailors 1, boys half. They also set injury pay. So much for the right arm, less for the left, so much for a leg, so much for an eye. It is rough math, but it is math. In many honest jobs, hurt men get nothing. Here, a man with 1 leg can still eat because the crew agreed before anyone bled. The quartermaster is the judge of quiet days. He keeps the key to the store. He measures shares and handles disputes. If 2 men fight, he hears them, calls witnesses, and sets punishment. Often a set number of lashes with a light rope, sometimes loss of a share, sometimes marooning for thieves, left with water and a pistol on a sandbar, rare, deadly, and everyone knows it. Flogging is not fun to watch. It is also lighter than Navy punishments. The idea is balance. Keep order without making men hate the deck. There is democracy in the big choices. The crew votes on when to sail, where to cruise, which ship to chase, and sometimes whether a captain stays or goes. Captains are kings in battle, not in calm. A captain who wastes men in stupid fights learns how fast a quarterdeck can turn into a simple piece of wood with no power on it. Music lives aboard. A fiddler, a pipe, a drum, a voice. Songs keep rhythm on braces, ease the ache in long pulls, and push fear back when the sky and sea go black and the mast moans like a sick cow. Some articles give the musician Sundays off. It sounds silly. It is not. Music holds men together like rope. Cleanliness is a battle, not a habit. You swab decks with vinegar. You air hammocks in sunshine. You boil water when you can. You scrape lice and fleas and throw clothes over the side on a line to drown. The armies. Scurvy eats gums and makes old scars bleed. Limes help, but you do not always have them. Dysentery kills more men than cannon. The surgeon, if you have one, is a brave man with a fast saw and a bottle of rum. He saves lives with speed more than skill. Drills matter. Gunners practice loading until they can do it half asleep. Small arms crews practice firing by sections, so the whole deck does not empty at once. Boarders drill with grapnels and boarding axes, hook, pull, climb, swing, step aside, let the next man through. The goal is to make fear have no time. If hands and feet move because they know what to do, your heart can be scared without stopping your work. Taking a prize is not only shooting and shouting, it is paper. The quartermaster makes a list of goods and marks who found what and where. If a man stuffs silk in his shirt and a mate sees, there is a word for it: skulking. Skulking costs you reputation and sometimes skin. Afterward, in a quiet cove, the crew divides the take. Names are called. Shares are counted into bags. A man with bad luck for months can go from broke to rich in 1 hour. He buys bright cloth. He buys too much rum. He gives a handful to a woman who once gave him water when he needed it. He wakes 2 days later poorer, lighter, and happy or ashamed. The cycle is an old wheel and it turns by itself. Belief on board is simple. Some men pray, some swear. Most carry charms, a bit of bone, a coin with a hole, a scrap from a woman's dress. There are superstitions you pretend not to believe, No whistling in a calm, it calls wind the wrong way. No cutting nails on deck, it cuts luck. No saying the best thing out loud, the sea hears and takes it. You laugh at these in port. You follow them at sea. Women on pirate ships are rare but not unheard. Anne and Mary are not the only ones, just the most famous in your time. Some crews forbid women by article. Some do not care if the woman can do a job. Trouble starts when men forget the rule about touch and consent. On good ships, that rule is iron. On bad ships, the story ends ugly and fast. Justice is faster than in any court. If a captain cheats the shares, the crew whispers, then speaks, then votes and sets him ashore with his pistols and maybe a small keg. If a sailor lies, men remember. His name becomes quiet poison. He does not get picked for the soft jobs. He eats last. If he does not change, someday he takes a short walk on a long board. No water, no gun. There is no appeal. That sounds cruel. It is also consent. Every man signed the articles with eyes open. Why does this life pull so many? Not because death is fun, not because crime is holy, because respect is food, and the old world kept it locked. On a pirate deck, a poor man can stand up and speak. His voice counts on big things. He can be brave and be paid for it. He can be hurt and still be part of the crew. He can be black, white, Irish, Dutch, English, free or once enslaved, and if he pulls his weight, the rope does not ask his past. This is not a dream. There is cruelty and waste and foolishness, and men who drink their luck to dust. There are broken backs and broken hearts and storms that do not care about votes. But inside the rough wood is a small idea that feels new in an age of kings. We choose. For a few years on a few decks, that idea became daily bread. That is why the stories glow long after the guns go quiet. The hunters, Navy sloops, guardacostas, convoys, and new tricks, 1718, 1722. The sea is the same color, the wind is the same song, but your enemies have learned your ways. The Royal Navy stops sending only big frigates with deep bellies that ground on sandbars. It builds and borrows sloops of war, fast, shallow, hungry. A sloop of war slides where you slide. It tacks like a knife in a cook's hand. It carries 10 to 14 guns, sometimes more, and 30 to 80 men who practice boarding like it is Sunday church. The officer on her quarterdeck studies maps of reefs and channels the way you once studied prize lists. The Navy also copies your best habits. It drills men to aim high at masts and rigging, not low at hull. It trains Marines to jump first and split a deck into 3 bites: forecastle, waist, quarterdeck, so your crew cannot gather in one place. It keeps cutlasses sharp and pistols, loaded in racks by the mainmast. It posts lookouts who do not drink on watch. It punishes sloppy work faster than before. A proud machine learns to be quick. Then there are the guardacostas, Spanish Coast Guard privateers. They are not Navy, not exactly. They are licensed hunters. They know the cays and mangroves like farmers know fields. They row quiet in launches at night, oars wrapped with cloth, and come into your cove like cats. They do not always fight fair. They do not have to. When you play outside the law does not mind playing outside you. The French learn, too. They convoy sugar from Martinique and Guadeloupe with escorts that match your speed. They hide rich cargo in the middle of packet boats and poor cargo on the ends so you bite wrong. The Dutch stay calm and smart, sailing in company and filing papers right away so insurance pays if you do take a hull. Men in London coffee houses, you'll hear the name Lloyd's if you ever sit there, write rules for insurance that make convoys cheaper and capture more expensive. Your work is not only against men with guns, it is against men with quills. Harbors change. Nassau has a governor and watches. Port Royal strengthens its law. Charleston keeps faster boats near the bar. Virginia and North Carolina share news down the coast by riders and beacons. The message moves faster than a sail on a calm day. If you stop a ship near Cape Fear on Monday, a man in Williamsburg may hear by Thursday. The surprise you love shrinks. You change, too. You hide deeper in creeks with black water under cypress. You careen on deserted quays and keep no fires after dusk. You throw out false anchors, old stones on rope, to fool the watch and slip away. You paint your hull low and dull to blend with sea. You fly false colors until the last minute. You teach new men to hold their tongues in taverns because one loose story feeds 3 hungry officers. Sometimes the best trick is not to fight. You watch a convoy go by and count guns. You count again. The math says no. You spit, curse the wind, and wait. The hardest skill at sea is patience. The sea teaches it by breaking men who don't have it. The admiralty courts grow teeth. Before, a captured pirate might charm a local jury or vanish from a loose jail. Now trials move fast. Judges travel with fleets. Gibbets wait along the shore to hold tarred bodies that point a black finger at every ship coming in. See? They say without voices. Your turn if you try it. Fear is a tool for both sides. Governors use paper like a weapon. Pardons still exist for a time, but now the words are sharper. Surrender by this day, a notice reads, or be hunted with no mercy. Some pirates try to trade old letters of marque from the war years for forgiveness. Some succeed. Most do not. The war is over. The excuses are thin. A few captains still dance between teeth and keep their decks clean. They use decoys, a small prize sent ahead to lure a hunter away. They stage false quarrels in taverns to shake off informers. They carry 2 flags in a T hat, a black one and a white one, and choose at the last moment. They leave survivors on purpose to tell stories that make other captains lower colors early. The old trick still works. Stories run faster than sloops. One new hunter is not a ship, but a network. A free black pilot in Jamaica knows the tide in a certain creek. A bar owner in Charleston sees 2 men buy lime and pork after midnight. A baker in New Providence notices a launch with tarred oars. A planter in Carolina wants reward money. Alone, each fact is small. Together they draw a map to your cove. You thought you loved democracy because it kept captains honest. Now the other side uses a kind of democracy. Many small eyes, many small words, to keep you afraid. You can still win. You pick your water. You run in squalls because you and your mates are not afraid of wet decks and broken sleep. You use shoals that make officers nervous. You load chain shot to chew an enemy's foresail and make him stupid in the wind. You throw a stink pot, a jar of burning pitch and waste, into a boarding party's face and watch brave men turn to children for one important heartbeat. Then you run. But each year there are fewer places to run. The Spanish treasure route gets better guarded. The Carolina coast is watched. The Bahamas have a leash, even if it grows loose sometimes. The best water is farther out now, off Brazil, off Guinea, in the heartline between Africa, the Americas, and Europe. That is where a tall man in black will make a last bright blaze. You will hear his name soon in every tavern that still respects a good flag. For now you sit on a quiet deck at sunset. Your shirt smells of tar and smoke. Your hands are rope. The sky turns peach, then purple. You count. More sloops, more patrols, more laws, more eyes. Your answer is still the same as it was when you signed the first articles. Choose your crew. Choose your fight. Choose your fate. Choice is thinner now, but it still exists. Even a hunted man owns his next step. You fall asleep to the creak of hemp and the click of little waves on the hull. A gull cries once like a laugh. Tomorrow a lookout will call sail or storm or land. You will move because moving is what keeps you alive, and the hunters will move too. The Last Giants, Robert's Black Flags, Vane's Rage, Bonnet's Fall, 1718, 1722. You think you have seen all the kinds of captains. Then the sea gives you Bartholomew Roberts. He is not a brute. He is not a showman like Blackbeard. He is sharp, steady, and strict. He takes the deck as a second mate against his will, captured by pirates near Anambra, the Guinea coast, in 1719. Within weeks, the crew elects him captain. Why? Because he sees farther. Because his voice is clean. Because in a bad world, a man who knows maps like stories and storms like cousins is a kind of miracle. Roberts dresses in black with a red silk, sash and a diamond cross taken from a ship that thought God would protect it. He flies different flags for different moods, one with a man and a skeleton toasting over skulls, one with a caption, "A Barbadian's Head." He announces what he intends, then he does it. That is his trick. Promise, then perform. Men love that because so many captains promise and drown. His code is tight. No gambling for money on board. Lights out at 8. Musicians rest on the Sabbath. No bringing boys or women onto the ship. He does not want the storm that comes with jealousy. He runs a clean deck. He punishes theft fast. He pays injury shares exactly. He drills guns until they talk like a single mouth. He keeps a surgeon and respects him. He gives pardon to enemy crews who lay down arms because time is silver. He makes a fortune in prizes. Some say hundreds, others say more than 400. Numbers grow in telling, but you know this, his wake is long. He takes fat Portuguese ships off Brazil heavy with gold and sugar. He cuts into convoys in a way that makes insurers write letters with shaking hands. He grabs a governor's barge, under the guns of a fort just because the governor swore he couldn't. He is bold, but he is not stupid. He moves like a chess player who plays 12 boards and laughs softly. Roberts is also honest in a pirate way. He tells prisoners the rules. He keeps bargains. He hates lying more than killing. Men follow that kind of captain for a reason that is bigger than shares. He offers the clean dignity of a straight line in a crooked game. His end is simple and huge. In 1722, near Cape Lopez on the West African coast, a British warship, HMS Swallow, under Challenger Ogle, finds him. A cannonball takes Roberts clean through the throat or the chest. Men argue the spot. He dies standing or almost. His men wrap him in his scarlet cloth and drop him overboard as he wished, so no enemy can hang him in iron. The crew fights on. For a time, then folds. A giant sinks. The water closes like nothing happened. The Golden Age loses its last true commander. Not all giants are steady. Some burn hot like Charles Vane. Vane is fast, angry, and proud. He hates pardons. He hates orders. He hates anyone who tells him to hit smaller ships when big ones still sail. His crew loves him until they don't. After Woodes Rogers arrives, Vane slips away with tricks. A fire ship sent into the face of a man of war, launches pulled through channels with oars while the enemy swears at rocks. Then Vane makes his worst mistake. He refuses to fight a fat French merchant with teeth. He calls it prudence. The crew calls it cowardice. They vote him out and seat Calico Charles Yates for a short while. Then Vane and a few loyal hands vanish in a small boat like a curse whispered into wind. He keeps raiding in the Bay of Honduras, but fortune blinks. A hurricane throws him onto an island. He survives, angry and thin, only to be recognized by a former acquaintance and handed over. He hangs in Jamaica in 1721, cursing to the end. The rope does not care about curses. Stede Bonny, the gentleman pirate, is a different lesson. He leaves a plantation for the sea because his head is full of smoke and stories, or because his home is a prison. Men argue which. He is brave enough to stand on a quarterdeck, but not clever enough to keep it. He sails with Blackbeard, learns a little, then insists on more than skill allows. After the Charleston blockade, he runs and hides and then runs again. Colonel William Rhett catches him in the Cape Fear River in 1718. Bonnet tries to plead pardon, tries to plead sorrow, tries everything a soft-handed man tries when the table flips. Charleston hangs him in December that year. Some in the crowd feel pity. Most feel nothing. Piracy has grown large. Pity has grown small. When you put these three on one line, Roberts, Vane, Bonnet, you can see the whole shape of the age. Roberts shows the high art, discipline, speed, long sight, fair shares, cold nerve. Vane shows the hot fire, courage without. Patience burns your own deck. Bonnet shows the dream and the wall. Romance alone cannot tack into a headwind. Between them stand all the others. Teach dead in smoke at Ocracoke, 1718. Rackham swinging like a lantern in Jamaica, 1720. Hornigold drowned by a reef after hunting his own kind, 1719. Crews scattered to farms, to gibbets, to new names. You sit with a tin cup in a poor tavern in Bridgetown or Kingston and listen. To a gray sailor tell the Roberts story again. The flags, the rules, the governor's barge, the last shot. The names ring like bells in fog. You find yourself nodding at the parts that feel true and smiling at the parts that grew. This is how legends breathe. They take in facts and breathe out meaning. The meaning is not that pirates always win. The meaning is that for a short, bright slice of time, men who owned nothing but their hands and courage built their own order out of rope and votes. Roberts is the best of that order. Vane is the danger inside it. Bonnet is the warning that not everyone can wear a captain's coat, just because it is pretty. The gibbets multiply along the Caribbean shore. The gallows in Port Royal, Spanish Town, Charleston, Boston work steady. Admiralty court clerks wear out quills. Yet for years after, boys carve skulls on barrels and whisper Bartholomew Roberts like a password. The Navy wins the water. The pirates win the nights in stories. Why piracy rose: war, work, geography, and angry math. 1700, 1718. It is easy to say men became pirates because they were bad. It is easy to say they wanted quick gold and faster rum. Those things are true for some, but the root is math. Start with war. The War of the Spanish Succession, Queen Anne's War, ran 1701-1713. Kings fought over crowns. Merchants fought over markets. Privateers, legal pirates with papers, fought over prizes. England, France, Spain, the Dutch Republic all handed out letters of marque like hot bread. If you had a fast hull and 10 brave men, the crown smiled and said, "Hunt my enemies." You learned boarding, signals, gunnery, chase. You learned how to live on little and take fast. The war trained you. Then came peace. The same kings who had begged for your help said, "Go home now." The Royal Navy cut crews. Privateer owners folded sails and closed purses. Around 36,000 British sailors lost work in a short span. That is a small city of hard hands. Work on merchantmen existed, but the wage was low, and the discipline was sharp. Masters beat men for being men. Food was bad even by sea standards. Share? None. Respect? Less. Now add geography. The Bahamas sit like stepping stones across trade routes. Nassau is a deep, easy harbor with reefs that keep big ships honest and channels that a local pilot can ride like a thief in a crowd. New Providence had been smashed in war and abandoned. No governor, no court, no gallows. Nature built a fort of shoals. War built a class of sailors who could use it. Add Spanish silver. The 1715 treasure fleet wrecked on the Florida coast in a hurricane. Spain sent salvage crews. That created targets on beaches instead of hulls. Pirates love a soft target like a wolf loves a lame deer. Early winds gave coin to hungry men and confidence to crews. Confidence brings friends. Add imperial. Clutter. English, Spanish, French, Dutch, Danish, and Swedish islands all sit within days of each other. Some hate each other. Some drink together and spank smugglers the same afternoon. A pirate can sell goods in Cuba today and buy powder in St. Thomas. Tomorrow if he knows who to bribe and how to smile. The flags disagree. The market agrees. Cheap sugar in, dear sugar out. Add race and class. On many ships, black sailors, Indians, freed Africans, sailors of mixed descent, and poor whites had no way up. On pirate decks, shares and votes mattered more than skin or father's name. That was new. It was not perfect. Prejudices still lived. But a man could rise on a pirate ship if he pulled his weight. That smell of fair pay in a world of unfair pay is strong. Add law that sleeps. Before Woodes Rogers, the British Empire did not have enough judges, jails, or sloops in the West Indies. Planters liked cheap stolen goods. Merchants liked quick sales. Governors liked bribes and quiet. A pirate could lie under a palm, drink rum, and sell molasses to the same man in the same week. Everyone pretended it was a different man. Paper is blind when profit holds its hand. Add portraits and songs. Men heard about Henry Morgan, a different age but close enough for a fire to carry. They heard he took Panama and died a knight. They heard of free men feasting in Port Royal before the earth swallowed half the town in 1692. Stories are bait on hooks. Hungry men bite. On top of that math, put the code. Pirate articles gave a man a vote, a share, and injury pay. They wrote down rules and followed them more closely than many churches follow their book. Imagine you are 20, poor, and angry. Imagine a quartermaster reading a line that says, "If you lose the right hand, 600 pieces of 8. Suddenly your life is counted. Merchant captains counted your back, not your future. Finally, add need. You watch your own hands after the war. They do not fit farm tools. They fit rope and pistol. You are not a saint. You are not a villain. You are a sailor with no job and a stomach that pulls your back toward the ground. A man on a beach in Nassau offers a pistol, a hammock, articles, and hope. You sign. That is why piracy rose. Not because evil grew like weed, because systems made. Orphans and orphans built a town by the reef. When the sea and the world change, men change with them. For a short time, the change favored the black flag. Then the hunters caught up. Then the math flipped. Why piracy fell? Law, money, ships, and the end of easy prey, 1718 to 1730. You do not end an age by hanging one man. You end it by closing many doors at once. Door 1, governance. Woodes Rogers in Nassau is the model. A real governor, paid and backed, arrives with soldiers, judges, clerks, and money to feed them. He builds forts and posts watches. He hands out pardons with one hand and punishments with the other. He writes letters to other colonies and coordinates patrols. He does not accept later. He says now. Other colonies follow. Boston, Charleston, Port Royal, Bridgetown harden their edges. The soft spots shrink. Door 2, naval reform. The Royal Navy keeps sloops of war where they are needed, not far away on big ships that can't enter your water. Officers learn the banks and K's. They promote men who chase well, not just those who bow well. They stock small launches with oars for night work. They train Marines with pistols and cutlasses, not only with bayonets on pretty grass. They reward hunters with prize money, so the chase feels like business, not duty. Door 3, courts, admiralty. Courts move. A judge can sit in Jamaica 1 month and South Carolina the next. He wears a wig and a face like a wall and signs death with a steady hand. Local juries, who once let their cousins walk, are cut out. Evidence is simpler. Were you on that ship under that flag? If yes, rope. That is harsh. It is also fast. Pirates used to count on delay. Delay dies. Door 4, convoys and insurance. Merchants stop being foolish. They run convoys with escorts, sail on schedules, and refuse to risk rich cargo alone. Insurers lower rates for good behavior and raise them for captains who ignore sense. Underwriters at Lloyd's read reports and send them to governors. The desk in London and the deck in Barbados shake hands across an ocean of ink. Money decides. Money wins. Door 5, economics. As more sugar, tobacco, coffee, and indigo flow, the market grows thicker. A single lost ship hurts less. The system absorbs the blow. The reward for one pirate act falls. The risk rises. Investors put coin into escorts and forts instead of lotteries on luck. The wide lanes narrow to guarded paths. Door 6. Pardons. Timed right. Early on, pardons did not work because they were vague and late. Later, governors tie deadlines to amnesty and really mean it. Come by Michaelmas, the paper says, and live. Many men read that and feel 50 pounds of fear lift from their shoulders. The smart ones take it, especially after Blackbeard, and vain die. A world with fewer heroes has fewer recruits. Door 7. Pirate weakness. Not all falls come from outside. Drink eats crews from the inside. Quarrels over shares split ships at bad times. Bad captains waste men on stupid attacks to feed pride. Disease chews flesh when limes and luck run out. A code cannot fix a captain who wants songs more than sound decisions. Some crews die like candles in wind, whining, not roaring. Door 8. Technology and charts. Better charts of the Bahamas. And Carolina remove your secret channels. Officers share soundings. Private pilots become government pilots because the pay is steady and their sons sleep easier. A lead line thrown in the right place at the right minute saves a Navy sloop from the bar that trapped 3 pirates last year. Small changes save big ships. Door 9. Allies you did not choose. The Spanish guardacostas hurt pirates who hurt. Spanish cargadores. The French hang men who take Martinique sugar. The Dutch keep tidy records and slow smiles that become cold hands in court. You are everyone's problem now, not just England's. A lone wolf can run past one shepherd. 3 shepherds with dogs close the field. Door 10. Distance. Rich targets move farther out. The easy work around Nassau, Eleuthera, Cuba, Jamaica, and the Carolinas grows thin. The good hunting lies off Brazil, Cape Verde, and in the bight of Benin. Not every captain can run those lanes, and those who do face frigates and fate. When Roberts dies at Cape Lopez, the message is clear. Even the far water is watched. By 1725 to 1730, the thing you called the life is mostly memory. There are still robbers at sea, there always will be, but the Republic of Pirates is gone. Nassau is a port, not a hideout. The black flag still flies sometimes, but usually on paint and paper. Real flags hang in museums later, their cloth thin as old breath. Does the world get better? In some ways, yes. Merchants sleep, farmers ship crops, sailors sign on to ships that now fear mutiny and pay a little better to avoid it. In other ways, no. Some men who might have voted under articles now sweat under whips on land. The sea becomes safer for cargo and slave ships both. That truth sits like a stone. You stand on a rebuilt quay and feel 2 feelings at once. Relief at not checking. The beach for Marines and sadness at the quiet in your blood. The hunt made you alive. The code made you proud. The cost made you old. Ages end not with trumpets, but with paperwork and habits. Paper says no. Habit says yes to the new no. And the sea, old and blue, pretends it does not know you. The legacy. Myth, truth, and why the black flag still flies in stories years pass. The rope burns on your palms fade to pale lines. You build small boats or mend nets or keep a shop that smells like tar and oranges. A boy asks for a story. You say once, and the room changes. Myth begins fast. In 1724, a book appears in London, a history of pirates under the name Captain Charles Johnson. Maybe it's a real captain, maybe it's a writer with ink instead of salt under his nails. The book tells about Blackbeard, Bonnet, Vane, Rackham, Anne, Bonny, Mary, Reed, Roberts. It gets many facts right and dresses others in brighter clothes. It gives pirates speeches they never had time to make. It counts wounds like a ballad does. But it does one vital, honest thing. It writes down the code, the votes, the shares, the injury pay. It shows the world that on rough decks there lived a rough democracy. After that, the pictures grow. Flags with skulls and hourglasses march across. Pages. A child in Bristol or Boston draws crossed bones with charcoal on a crate and feels brave. A singer makes a shanty with a rolling chorus about a beard on fire. A painter adds too much smoke and we do not mind. A century later, writers add maps with X's, and mothers hide the book and then read it themselves after the lamp is out. Truth becomes seed. Story becomes tree. The truth is not neat. Some pirates were cruel and wasteful. Some had slaves or sold people like cargo. Some burned ships for joy. Some cut throats in sleep. Some were cowards. Some were drunk most days. Some were kind to prisoners and fed hungry crews they captured. Some paid widows when they didn't have to. Some died praying. Some died cursing. Many died fast. Many died poor. What remains clean in the mess is the idea that men who owned nothing could write their own rules and follow them. A crew could elect a captain and depose him. A black sailor and a white sailor could pull the same rope and get the same share. A man who lost a leg got money by law of the deck, not by mercy. Those facts sit like bright stones in dirty mud. They still shine. The flags had meaning deeper than fear. The hourglass meant time is short, for you and for me. The heart. Pierced meant mercy if you are wise, pain if you are not. The skeleton raising a toast meant death is near, drink now or decide well. When you flew a black flag and not a red one, no quarter, you were saying, think and live. Most captains wanted surrender, not slaughter. Powder is costly. Men are priceless. Blackbeard's beard did not truly burn. The slow matches smoked, but he understood theater before the word had his name in it. He used fear like a sail uses wind. He also used mercy more than his enemies admit. He died not because value left him, but because the world wanted him dead to close a chapter clean. Anne Bonny and Mary Rudd did not make women equals at sea forever, but they put steel in a myth that later women would hear when rooms tried to make them small. Their names still slice old air. A girl in a fishing village hears them and lifts her head. A woman in a city boardroom hears them and squares her shoulders. Legends travel better than laws. You can be honest about pirates and still love the stories. To be honest, you say, they were thieves. They broke bones and rules. They made widows. They also made a code with votes and shares when kings gave. None. To love, you say, they chose each other. They wrote their names on the wind. Both can live in one chest. Why does the black flag still fly in stories? Because every age has men and women who feel pressed, used up and thrown away like old line. Every age has bosses who act like bad captains and systems that eat small people. The pirate tale says, there was a time when the small ones stood up, took a ship, and said no. It also whispers a warning. They paid for it, hard. Freedom is sweet and short. Safety is dull and long. Most lives dance between. If you must teach, teach balance. Tell the child that buried treasure is more often spent on rum than buried in sand. Tell him the maps with X's are ink games. Tell him the gallows took more men than old age. Then tell him about the articles and the vote. Tell him the cook on a pirate ship had a louder word than a prince in some halls. Tell him a man with one eye could still be worth a full share. He will hear the right part. On some nights the wind near Ocracoke or Cape Lopez or the Mona Passage moves strange. Old sailors say that is Teach or Roberts or Anne walking the water. That is a small lie that says a big truth. Memory has weather. The sea holds echoes. You sit on a step, older now, and watch the harbor. Big ships pass with clean flags and neat books. A small sloop still runs the shoal like a fish in a clear stream. On its mast, someone has tied a black cloth for a joke, or for a dare, or for a story. The cloth snaps once. You smile, not because you want the old days back. The old days were cold and bloody as well as hot and sweet. You smile because you remember the feeling. Hands on rope, eyes on squall, friends at your side, enemies in front, choice under your feet. That is the legacy. Not gold, not maps, not ghosts. The legacy is the idea that even at the bottom of a hard world, people can choose a law together and live by it. They can share risk and share bread. They can throw down a bad captain and lift up a better one. They can look at a king far away and say, "Not today. The age is over. The dream is not. It sails in the oldest boat we have, story. And in that boat, the black flag will fly forever, not to promise murder, but to promise a question. What would you risk to be free?"